let's speak some hard truths. If Donald Trump becomes the Republican nominee, we will get a President Kamala Harris. You mark my words. He cannot win a general election. Look at Iowa, look at New Hampshire. He can't get independents. He can't get suburban women. He's losing Republicans who say they don't want him and will vote for someone else. It's a problem. This is not personal for me. I have no problems with Donald Trump. I voted for him twice. I was proud to serve in his administration. This is about the fact America can't lose again. We lost in 2018, we lost in 2020, we lost in 2022. How many more times do we have to lose before we realize we have got to right this ship? Will not win the general election. You can have him win any primary you want. He will not win a general election. We will have a female president of the United States. It will either be me or it will be Kamala Harris. But if Donald Trump is the nominee, you can mark my words, he will not win a general election. And what I say to everybody is, don't complain about what happens in a general election if you don't really think about that in this primary. We can do better. You look at, these are the two most disliked politicians in America. Look at the polls. Look at what they're saying. 60% of Americans are saying Donald Trump's too old and Joe Biden's too old to be president. You look at the military, they cap retirement at 65. You look at pilots, they cap retirement at 65. We've got a lot to fix in this country. We need someone who can work 8 years straight of hard work, day and night, fully disciplined, with no drama, no vendettas, just results for the American people. That's what's at stake here. And I'm going to continue to stay in and tell people this as long as I possibly can.
So what are you going to do if Trump wins?
Nothing. Going on with my show and making jokes at his expense every week. And that's why this is a great country. Because as crazy as he is, he didn't do anything about it the first time. So I'm just not going to lose my nervous system about, now he could, he's insane. So he could start sending people to Guantanamo Bay. I don't put anything past this guy. He thinks they're eating the cats and the dogs. But am I going to worry about it? First of all, I'm not going to worry about it, Phil, because he's not going to win.
So you think he's just worn it out? You think people are just going to get fatigued?
Enough. I feel
category fatigue.
It's just going to be, we're talking about a few 100,000 people perhaps, but I think it's going to be a little closer than that. First of all, she's definitely going to win the popular vote, as Democrats almost always do now. But I think she will win. I think he will, of course, go batshit insane, as he always does. He won't accept it. His followers, I think, I don't think their heart will really be in it, as it was in 2020. Some of them, there's lots of people who will always be in the bunker with Mrs. Goebbels, taking the poison and giving the poison to the children, because it's better than living in a world without National Socialism. I make an analogy, but I don't say he's a Nazi. But I think for most people, it's just fatigue. Yes, I think it's time.
Okay, so there's some real whiplash in this clip. 1 minute, the campaign is the gold standard of how to win, and the next, it's all fake and that the candidate is propped up. It is almost as if this person cannot believe how well the campaign was run. It's a real head-scratcher and goes to show how narratives can change so quickly. Alright, here we have someone who is super confident and says, "We are going to win this thing, baby." They're feeling it in their bones, and that they are more confident today than they were 2 days ago. It's like, okay, we get it, you are feeling good. They even have a map with their preferred candidate getting 349 electoral votes. They're brushing off the media and saying everyone is just going off of weird polls.
Now Donald Trump costs us, from the U.S. Senate to governorships to school board seats. His message costs Republican parties dearly across the country.
So if he is the nominee, will the Democrats win?
Oh yeah, he can't win in November of 24. Oh, the math has shown Donald Trump has no chance of winning in November of 24. He wouldn't even win Georgia. If you're a Republican that can't win Georgia of November 24, you have no shot, and he's proven that. So, and not only has he proven it, but the candidates he gets behind in a good conservative state like Georgia lose the race. His messaging doesn't translate. It does well with a hardcore 30-35% base, but he loses everybody beyond there. And no one is undecided about the former president. There's no one out there going, well, maybe I might consider voting. No, you know where you are. He's a known commodity, and so the math doesn't add up. So if Republicans nominate him, then we're saying a vote for him in the primary is effectively a vote for Joe Biden. I mean, that's ultimately...
Trump is the nominee. The election will revolve around all these legal issues, his trials, perhaps convictions if he goes to trial and loses there, and about things like January 6th. We're going to lose if that's the decision that voters are making based on that. I'm
not a Trump fan. I want to win. And if we nominate Trump, we're going to lose. He hasn't won anything since 2016. Mm-hmm. We lost the House in 18. We lost the presidency in 20. We've lost the Senate. We would have won the Senate this time in 22 had it not been for Trump and his nominees in some of our key primary elections. And my guess is we probably would have picked up 10 to 15 seats in the House if it weren't for, his involvement.
And you have to make the case against Donald Trump and convince Republican primary voters two things. One, that he is not electable. And he will not beat Joe Biden. He's lost him before and would lose to him again, and probably Joe Biden.
There's no other conclusion to come to that he's both afraid of me and he's afraid of defending his record. And if I had his record, I'd be nervous about showing up too. And let's face it, guys, by Wednesday, he's going to be out on bail in 4 different jurisdictions. When are we going to stop thinking that's normal? When are we going to allow our country to understand again that nominating someone who's out on bail in 4 jurisdictions is not a winning formula?
And Trump has converted our party into something that we hardly recognize. And so I'm swimming upstream, but it's an important battle this year that we continue to fight for what we believe is important for our country and for our party. We're doomed to lose if we just simply become the Trump entity that's going to be following whatever latest craziness that he advocates. And that's a concern to me. That's why I'm raising my voice. January 6th is a part of it. He's morally responsible.
Again, the unwavering confidence is just something to behold. They are absolutely sure it's going to be a landslide. It's like they are living in a completely different reality. And the dismissal of the media is another recurring theme we're seeing. They seem to be so certain that everything will go their way. It is a bit much, but good for them that they believed in it. Now this is interesting. We've got someone here calling an expert the Nostradamus of US elections. This expert, who's apparently been correct in 9 out of the last 10 presidential races, is predicting a precedent-breaking victory for their candidate. They even break down the criteria and say the candidate has 8 keys, which is the minimum to win. And they double down that nothing will change their prediction. Okay, so the so-called Nostradamus of elections, who has a 40-year track record, was wrong this time. And this is exactly why you cannot rely on anyone predicting the future with 100% certainty, especially in politics. It just goes to show you have to take these things with a grain of salt. Even the experts get it wrong sometimes. We have people calling it a blowout and claiming that the other side lost badly. There are claims that the other side's campaign was a campaign in free fall and ending in chaos. They say that the other candidate is going to lose because people have had enough of them. We see some strong language here, and it's clear some people were trying to make sense of how the results could have turned out the way they did.
Interviewed 1/3 of the committee members who said they would also like an alternative to Donald Trump to emerge. What does that tell you about Donald Trump's standing right now?
You know, I think he's fading. I've said that for a long time, but he's probably still has, I was talking to a friend of mine in New Hampshire yesterday, probably 25 to 30% support. You get a crowded field, he could come out of there, he could win, but he's never going to be president of the United States. Thank God he's not going to be that. However, I mean, he's still a force in the party, but not as strong as a force. And his 2 appearances yesterday, both in New Hampshire and in South Carolina, were underwhelming. But just remember this. Donald Trump, somebody that I fought from the very beginning, is a vessel for people's frustrations and anger. And the person that can beat him will be somebody who is a vessel for something other than that, and maybe a vessel for hope.
Do you think Kamala won? And does that mean she may now win the election? I think more accurately it's that Donald Trump lost. And this is not the worst debate performance I've seen in my career, but it's very close to it. The conversations about people eating dogs and cats, calling the leader of Hungary one of the greatest world leaders, repeatedly missing the opportunity to focus on inflation and affordability, and the complete inability to present his point of view without completely tearing into Joe Biden, into whomever was in his sights. It was a pretty negative performance, pretty pessimistic, cynical, contemptuous, and I think that this will cost him. Yes, I'm trying to decide if I want to go on record, and the answer is yes. I think that he loses because of this debate performance.
It's from the election, and it's about time somebody talks to you, with 2 days left to go in the election. We have to talk to you now, because on election night, you're going to find out very quickly, even though Donald Trump is going to claim victory, within a few hours, you're going to find out that's nonsense and that he lost badly. And I'm just on here now to prepare you, because the last thing we want to hear is the whole, somebody cheated, somebody didn't count the vote. He's going to lose by millions and millions and millions of votes. And you want to know why? Because people have just had enough. Enough of Donald Trump. We don't care what he does. We don't care what he says. We just don't care. All right? So he's going to lose, and he's going to lose badly. And you need to understand it's just math. More people find him disgusting than find him the Lord Almighty like you do. Okay?
Next guest, known as the Nostradamus of U.S. elections for correctly predicting 9 of the last 10 presidential races, using his own 13 keys to the White House, criteria a candidate must win in order to achieve victory. Well, he now says that he's ready to call the race. American University history professor Alan Lichtman joins me now. Professor, all right, here it is. Who will win the next president of the United States?
According to the keys to the White House, which has been right for 40 years, we are going to have a precedent-breaking victory. Kamala Harris will be president of the United States.
Now, I'm looking at the true keys, the false keys, and you have some TBDs on the screen as well. Under your criteria, Harris obtains 8 keys, the minimum, by the way, to win, according to you. But can any of these keys potentially flip before the election? I mean, you got social unrest. If that breaks out, have you ever changed your prediction?
I have never changed my prediction once I've made a final call. The notion of an October surprise is a myth. All my predictions have been before the October surprise, and they have all held. Social unrest doesn't suddenly emerge. It takes a long time for there to be enough social unrest to turn the key, which requires massive, sustained social.
It's fascinating to watch these reactions in hindsight. The level of certainty and then the shock and disbelief. It really highlights the emotional investment people have in these elections and how they are tied to their identity. The reality of defeat can be really hard to process for some people. Finally, here we have some people already talking about the next election. They say that the other party has no shot and that their message doesn't translate. They also say that their party will be back more energized than ever. They are even naming potential candidates. It's like the election just ended, but they are already planning the next one. The cycle continues. It's like they are already back to the drawing board. It is interesting how the political landscape can change so quickly, and the focus shifts immediately to the next challenge. It just goes to show you how people are always looking ahead in politics. Well, that was a wild ride. It's amazing how confident people can be, and how wrong they can end up being. It just goes to show, in politics, anything can happen. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.